welcome back to another interview with the cast of Cubic Zirconia. I'm your host, Rod Kirby, and today I'm talking to the one, the only, Mr. Carter Nelms. Carter, how's it going, man? How you doing?
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. How you doing?
Doing pretty good, man. I'm feeling good. You know, we got the premiere of Cubic Zirconia is coming up very, very soon, less than a week, as a matter of fact.
Yeah.
I hope everyone has got their tickets to the premiere. It is happening on September the 14th at the Ned, going down in Jackson, Tennessee. So if you don't have your tickets, you better get them now, because right now I do believe they are on discount. So get your tickets right now, because they will be going up at the door at the Ned. So please do that right now. Carter, dude, welcome to the show. So glad to have you on here. Tell us, what is Cubic Zirconia all about?
So Cubic Zirconia is it's a murder mystery. And it's one of those you don't want to say too much about.
Right.
But it follows a man with his own traumatic past involving the death of a loved one, while he is working himself to investigate the loss of a murder, but
Yes.
delves into the family side of things as well. And so we get to see a lot of how he's affected in his work, while he's also still navigating his own journey, and how it all plays out and comes to the culmination by the end of the story.
Yes, and I can say from experience, I've seen a very, very, very rough cut early print of the film in preparation of this interview, and what I've seen just pretty much blew my mind. I love everyone's performance in this. Is great. Carter, you did awesome job, man. Really, really good job. I'm not just saying that, you really did a great job with your character. Who are you playing, and without giving too much away, what's his motivation?
So I'm playing Jeff. He is the husband of the deceased. And so with this as well, with Jeff being a prime suspect in the case, I hesitate to say too much about his motivation. I will say he has a Jeff Benton, full name, by the way. He's got a shaky relationship with law enforcement.
Right.
Lots of history. He and his wife both. He has two kids as well. So all this really rolls into, again, hesitating saying too much about what all is exactly going on. But there's a few different angles that you may see Jeff, particularly early in the film.
Right.
But with that history with law enforcement, obviously with this being a cop story and the police looking into things, there's definitely a lot of tension between him and them and them trying to actually work with this guy. It was definitely a lot of fun to get into. He's most of us are not, most of us in this business are not constantly in and out of jail like this guy is. Yeah. But man, there's more that I want to say, but I feel like I'll spoil a little bit if I do. So
well, let's save that for next weekend. Premiering Cubic Zirconia at the Ned in Jackson, Tennessee. Before we go any further, let's take a look at the trailer for Cubic Zirconia, and then we'll come back and talk about a little bit more. So here's the trailer for Jaron Lockridge's latest film, Cubic Zirconia. Let's take it out.
I worked over last night and got dispatched out to Tamala's sister house. She wanted to file a missing person report on Tamala and her two kids.
After further investigation, the body of Tamala Benton was located deceased.
Natalie Brown, TBI.
Domestic history, extensive domestic history, numerous arrests.
Tamala is not a saint. I ain't gonna pretend like she is. I'm telling you, there is something wrong.
And there you go. That is a trailer for Cubic Zirconia coming very, very soon. Carter, what are your immediate thoughts after seeing that trailer?
Oh man, so trying to remember when that was first posted online.
Yeah.
Honestly, I was thrilled seeing it. You never know, quite how things are gonna, you have an idea of what it might look like in your head,
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
so I thought they did a great job. Even aside from the movie, somebody's got to make the trailer. That's kind of its own art form. So I
Oh,
thought they did a great job.
absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. And especially knowing, what a lot of those quick shots are, what's really going on.
Mm-hmm.
It's got me really excited.
And that's the question, isn't it? What's really going on in the film? It's like we can't say too much, but your character Jeff has a lot of the investigation is revolving around his character and his motivations and what he's done in the past. It's all kind of circulating around him, which I loved the mystery aspect of it. What was the most challenging aspect of portraying Jeff in this film?
Well, the first thing that came to mind is something that would involve spoiler, so I'll have to withhold on that.
That's so hard, right? It's like
Yeah.
so many things we want to say we can't really say.
To keep it general, at least, I'll say he does have some emotionally explosive moments.
Yeah,
Um, and man, sorry, I'm just trying to be so careful with my words.
I know.
Um, he's also a character, to some degree. No matter who you're playing, no matter how deep you go, there's going to be an element of yourself in the
Right.
character that you're playing that just is not going to be removed.
Mhm.
While at the same time, sometimes you're playing characters who deviate from yourself in a very big way, and the big challenge, the big art of being an actor is being truthful and honest in that, and
Yep.
approaching Jeff in a way. You're always asking your questions of like, how does a person get to this point? Why is he this way? Why does he do this? Why does he do that? Why does he say that? What's really going on? And it's not usually just one thing. It's usually a whole history. We're all human
Right.
beings. We say we're three-dimensional characters. There's just so many more dimensions to, real human beings than three, to be metaphorical with it.
Yep.
So with that, it took a lot of imagination, and yeah, and it was really an adventure, honestly. He has some wildly different scenes as well, which is always fun. Yeah. One of the first scenes, actually the first scene that I shot, that my first day was the quickest day. It was didn't even start till evening, a nighttime scene.
Oh,
And there's
man.
yeah. And it's not anything too wildly crazy going on, but it gets a little intense, and it was man, again, being so careful with words. But there was just a lot to play with out of the gate.
Yeah.
Some physicality, even the other actors getting into some physicality in their role in that particular scene too. And honestly, thinking back on it, it set a really great precedent, starting with that. That was being my own personal first scene, starting with that before going into the rest of the shooting weekends for me, starting with that right there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow. How did you prepare for the character? Was there anything that you did in particular, or anything different than you've done from other roles?
I definitely think the biggest challenge was, and sort of what I tapped on before, was having to give an honest portrayal of kind of going back to his relationship with the police.
Right.
You can isolate that for what it is, but that says so much more about his background, his frustrations versus his goals in life, and his insecurities. And so there were a lot of questions to be answered, and those are those internal decisions. And what I've appreciated, I've listened to interviews before with actors where an actor and the audience might come to a different conclusion about internal decision. Right. But as the actor, you've got to make a decision, right? Because that's what real people do. They've thought, they may not say everything that they're thinking, but you're thinking something and you've internalized it.
Exactly.
And just like right now, us having a conversation, you may be having some thoughts that you're not saying, not because you're being secretive. It's just you don't say everything that comes in your mind. And I might be able to read some of that, or maybe there's always some assumption. I can't hear your innermost thoughts. That's real life. And but with that, you have to come to an answer. and so you can't just go in there and be, oh well, if he's loud and he doesn't get along with the police, you don't just go in there and be loud.
Right.
You're like, what's how do you get to that point, really?
Exactly. There's subtext to it, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, and what's really cool with it is no matter how deep you go, you can always go deeper. Like you said, I think it was oh, why am I blanking on the actress right now?
Amy Taylor or Kate Marley?
No, it was, Viola Davis.
Oh, Viola Davis. Okay, none of us. Viola Davis.
I can't remember her exact numbers, but she was saying, like, even if she were to, pass away and her sister gave her a eulogy, she's like, even somebody that knows her so intimately well just knows such a tiny percentage of really, who this person is.
Yeah.
And so there's always more depth you can get to. So it feels like such a broad answer to give, and it's a combination of again trying to be careful with the character who's integrated into the mystery of the story, as well just the simple fact that he deviated from me in so many ways. While again, you've still got a little bit of yourself in there, but yeah, he had a lot of really had to go into the background and family history, even before he met Tamala, and because those little things, they translate. And somebody say once, if I asked you, hey, how much money do you have in your bank account? Don't tell me, but right? Every single person out there knows.
Yep.
So those things, just having an answer, even if the audience never hears it, even if they come to a different conclusion, having come to your answer and defined this person, that's going to translate into seeing someone who's real.
Man, Carter, you are teaching acting class right now, buddy. So since you're teaching acting class, I'm a aspiring actor, and I guess I just got my script from my director and for this new production. What's the first thing that I should do? Should it be to immediately just start reading the lines, memorizing the lines, or should it be more of getting into the character's psyche, getting into the background of the character, creating more history with that character? What should I do as a first-time actor going into this, looking at my script?
Well, honestly, the first thing you want to do is just read the script, not with really much, not going about it as if you're working on the character on that first read through. The first time you're reading it, like as if it were a book, like you're an audience. You're just there consuming. And I fall to that temptation still. I have to remind myself, hey, back off, like, on that first read, because it can be really easy to grab onto your first impression of something.
Right.
And it's actually a blessing if you catch yourself doing that, to have something come up that contradicts what you thought you saw earlier, because it snaps you out. Go, see, I'm making assumptions, I'm making conclusions. Yeah. Because you'll go back through it, and you want to read through it more than just one time. Aside from memorizing lines and that kind of thing. Because there's always more to be had. The best and so many things. There's oftentimes my mind goes to, I saw this interview. This one person said this. Matthew McConaughey was asked this about lines. Actors get the line. How do you memorize all these lines?
Yeah.
The way he answered it, again, I'm paraphrasing from memory here, was essentially, I don't. He reads the script, and but he goes back through it again. He says, I'll return to it, after a workout, when I'm physically kind of intense, after a stressful day at work, after church, when I'm in a more forgiving, lighter mood, and all these different times. And it's not that he's going over the lines; he's going over the character, and you might see something and I know that I go in, I feel like, I've done my preparation, I'm getting in, and then I'm going into the scene.
Yeah.
And, like, it hits you like, oh my goodness, how did I not see that before? Like, I can't honestly do the scene and leave that out,
right.
You can say I get excited about it. It's a really fun craft.
After a while, just the character starts to click with you, right?
Yeah. And you start to get an eye for those layers in the character that are not the subtext, right? Like the stuff that's not literally written into the script.
Yeah.
There are some things that are, even if they're not literally in the script, they are clearly in the script, and you have to
Yeah.
be honest with those things. And then there are some things, there's always some space for, maybe I make a decision playing Jeff, someone else could step in, be 100% honest to the script,
Mm-hmm.
make a different decision about Jeff that doesn't violate. I mean, you see this in remakes, right? Like where you got two different people playing the same character.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And they might have slightly different interpretations. Now, those are going to be different scripts, right? So maybe one script makes an intentional decision, but nonetheless, you might get two different interpretations of a known popular character.
Mm-hmm.
And fandoms won't let you get away if you're like, no, that's like that character, whatever, right? You see all the uproar, yeah. And yet you can have very different interpretations of a character that are accepted and known to be different, but are still honest to who that character is, what they represent. Even back to Shakespeare, there's a wrong way to do Hamlet, but there's more than one correct way. There's stuff you can't do. There's stuff you have to do.
Yeah.
But there's a little bit of freedom, and no two people are going to be exactly the same.
Wow. When you were talking about that, it brought to mind the late great Stanley Kubrick, director, and he's of course known for doing hundreds of takes on small minuscule scenes, right? People walking through doors hundreds of times just to get the perfect scene, and working with all his different actors and big name actors. But I think his methodology was he wanted people to not act. He wanted them to really be the characters and really become those characters and live those lives, so that it's just kind of the same as breathing. It's just so natural, and it translates, into the film in the same way. I know Jaron it's not like that. He doesn't do hundreds of takes on scenes, mostly because there's no time to do all that. But how did he approach and work with you on the characterization of Jeff? And was there anything that you brought that was different than what he envisioned, or did you guys talk about that, or did he just kind of let you do what you want to do with that character?
More so the latter. He was pretty free with it.
Mm-hmm.
There was one scene, one of the more emotional scenes for Jeff was it was the scene used for the audition.
Oh, okay.
And it wasn't crazy long by any means, but it was on the longer end, and he acknowledged when he sent those. He said, I'm aware these are a little bit longer than they generally would be for this kind of a role.
Right.
But he said this particular scene is one that's pivotal in the story, and so this was why it's selected, was to see, what's to make sure that particular scene was delivered on.
Right.
And so with that one, I'd say not so much specifically to me, because it was really at that part of the process, where I wasn't cast yet. I was still in the audition process. But that moment right there, there definitely was more intentionality about the character from him at that stage of things. Once I was on board, it was mostly pretty free. And there's some things, again, going with him, there may be times he had thoughts of, he may have been watching for something and gone, oh no, that works. Maybe whether it was something expected or not expected. Yeah. But for the most part, just kind of let, and I saw that with the other actors too, kind of let people do their thing. You got your blocking, you got kind of, everybody's on the same page. But he was very, very, very free to work with.
Yeah. Well, and how was it working with him? Was this your first project together? Yeah.
Yeah. He was great to work with. He was, it's a blessing, just having if you got a good director to work with, or, someone with the kind of control he has, he's doing his own thing here. So everybody there is someone that's come through them. Yeah. And so that sets the tone of the whole environment. There's nobody there who just made you go like, there were nobody causing problems, anything like that.
Right.
And honestly, that's just nothing beats that. Nothing makes up for having problems on set. And I've been blessed. Honestly, I have very few stories of problems on set. His was a blessing to be a part of. I think I've actually got family out that way, and I mentioned having family all over in Tennessee. So I've got family out in the Jackson area, and so I was staying with some family while I was out of town over that way. So there was, I think, just some familiarity in the the culture that he's a part of. Same over in Memphis. I was fortunate, even though I lived 3 hours from Memphis. I was in Memphis for the holidays when they had the table reads. So I was able to jump in, and you get table reads are they've got their own reasons for existing, but a big thing for me, that stage is just getting to meet these other people that we're going to be working with later, and so it was just enjoyable all around.
That's awesome, man. And had you worked with Keith Johnson or Kate Mobley or Amy Taylor, any of these other actors and actresses?
No, I had not worked with Keith. I had a friend who, not long before we started shooting, was recommending, was it Jones Plantation that Keith had worked on?
Yeah.
And then got into shooting and saw some on Keith's Facebook page. Like, oh, wait a minute, that's the one my buddy was.
Yeah.
And so that would be the closest thing to a pre-existing connection. But no, it was first time for me to work with everybody. Tony Hale had a role in this. I know him from up here in Nashville.
Okay.
We were on completely different shooting days on this, so we didn't actually cross paths. We both worked on it. We didn't actually get to work together on this one. But that was my only pre-existing connection.
Wow. What would you say would be the most rewarding aspect of working on this project, on Cubic Zirconia?
Yeah. Man. Would be the most rewarding. I know it's kind of hard to put it all into a box. I mentioned a little bit on the character. I love chewing on character types that I haven't gotten to dive into yet.
Yeah.
I had done, and again, don't want to say too much for spoiler. I can think of one character I had done who was in a similar box, but it was not quite the same. And so I enjoy doing something that stretches me into a character type that I haven't done before. I enjoyed playing the character who's the aspect of being so integral to the mystery that's going on.
Yeah.
That, kind of separately from the character himself, his actual, role in the plot in that aspect was a whole lot of fun.
The film is coming out on, it'll be screened early this year, September 14th at the Ned. So if you have not done so right now, go get your tickets at eventbrite.com and search for Cubic Zirconia. I believe Jaron's plan is to release the film on different streaming platforms next year. So this is your one opportunity to see it in 2024. I mean, we want to see you there at the Ned. There will be a wonderful red carpet screening Q&A with the cast and the crew, and I'll be hosting as well, so you can see my beautiful face. And it is beautiful, trust me. I'll be flowing with locks and hair, and I'll do something different. I don't know, might do some curls, might do updo, a downdo. I don't know. I'm gonna do something different. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Carter, how are you gonna do your hair? I don't know. What are you gonna do? Anything different?
I grew it long. I told myself if it looks girly or is too much trouble to up, then I'll cut it. And so I just get up, do a little bit of that, and I'm good to go.
Oh my God, that's what I'm trying to get to. I'm trying to get to where I can just do, that thing there, just have it flow and dangle gorgeously, Carter, what's next for you, man? What are you working on?
I just came off of something now, so it's a little bit of a rest. Hoping that, so I've got one that was supposed to be shooting now, and it sounds like it may be shooting by the end of the month or early next month.
Okay.
I'm still up in there at the moment. It's a modern day action TV show, faith-based TV show. Something we started earlier this year. Another really fun project to be working on. Playing a police detective in that one, and so we are hoping for 9 episodes to kick off the first season, and we'll be gathering for that later this month, whether shooting's starting it or not. But that's what's on the radar at the moment. In talks with a local sitcom, which would be on the other side of the spectrum. A couple other things that are unhatched chickens at the moment, but
got irons in the fire, my friend. That's good.
Yeah.
That's what's up. Well, look, we are definitely looking forward to seeing you as you continue to grow as an artist and as a actor. Really looking forward to seeing what you come out with next. Thank you so much, Carter, for hanging out with me on today's interview. And everyone else that's watching, what are you doing? Get out of here. Go get your tickets. Cubic Zirconia. It's happening in like less than a week. What are you doing? Go get your tickets right now. Go to Eventbrite, get your tickets. Carter, we will see you later, and everyone watching, we will see y'all at the premiere on September 14th in Jackson, Tennessee. Peace out, everyone. See y'all later.